We are here to provide fun entertainment for ourselves and others to enjoy.
We are not professional therapists, nor do we claim to be.
All topics discussed are by personal opinions and our experiences alone.
We are an open forum, however, we will not tolerate any type of social bullying, derogatory name calling, or hate speech. We are the only ones allowed to trash talk each other.
Also, just a friendly reminder, our discussions are recommended to be 18 plus. We do tend to cuss like sailors with our minds living in the gutter 24/7. We don't want anyone getting offended without any warning.
Thank you for watching or listening. We hope you enjoy laughing at us as much as we laugh at ourselves. Hey everyone, welcome back to another podcast of Lady Night's Trash Talk. Tonight we're doing killer obsessions. We're going to go over some killers in this podcast, and then we're going to actually be doing a series, so there'll be future episodes about these in particular killers, but also many, many more. And lovely Bre is going to go first. So who do you have for us today?
First, was actually sent to me by a friend of mine. Her name is Cheyenne. And what's funny about this is it wasn't until I looked him up and my wife actually was like, "Oh, I know about the I5 Strangler too."
Mhm.
And it what's funny is as I was looking up this information, I realized that his middle name is actually the middle name of my friend Cheyenne's fiance, Reese. So I thought that was pretty
That's
hilarious. But
creepy,
this
but
is,
cool.
yeah, it's really creepy. So this actually happened about 15 minutes. This killer was actually kept in the prison about 15 minutes away from their home. So, this is a very, very wide, popular. I had never personally heard about him,
Mhm.
but so reading this article, I was like, oh, okay, this is all new information. Um, but this is on Roger Reese Gibb, and he actually just passed away last year in February. And he was born in San Diego, California. So he's technically local to me, but technically not because technically San Diego's like maybe an hour or two away from me.
Mhm.
But where he died was actually up north near Sacramento. So Kibb was initially arrested in 1988 for murdering Darcy Flackenpole. The previous year, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years of life in prison. In 2003, accompanied prosecutors and detectives to a dry creek he remembered to try to find the body of Llewellyn Burley, whom he had killed in 1977. In 2007, coincidentally, that's the year I graduated high school, a detective searched the area again. In 2009, Gibb again returned to the site with detectives. Burley's body was not found, and a grand jury was conveyed. After a plea bargain to avoid the death penalty on November 5th, 2009, which is coincidentally my married my wife, just not in 2009. Kibb was sentenced to an additional 6 life sentences, this time for the deaths of the remaining. In 2011, a detective returned to Burley dump site on his own and found a bone in the creek. DNA testing proved to be Burley's. Burley had left her Walnut Creek, California home in 1977 for a job interview, but never returned. Kibb kidnapped his victims, tied them up with a parachute rigging cord, and silenced them with duct tape. He then proceeded to cut open their clothes in irregular shapes with scissors that had belonged to his mother. Sometimes he garroted his victims with the parachute cord, which he skydived. Then he'd rape them and strangle them to death. Kibb was also cut off most of their hair to his victims to remove the duct tape before leaving the scene of the crime. Okay, let me just grab my mom's scissors and cut weird shapes into clothings of my victims.
I mean,
Good
craft and
lord.
arts. Craft and arts.
Good lord.
New take on it.
Kibb died approximately 12:40 a.m. on February 28th, 2021 in Mole Creek State Prison. An officer made the discovery, Jason Boudreaux, cellmate, who was 40, was present at the time. Boudreaux, a self-avowed Satanist, who was serving a life sentence for strangling a woman to death in 2010, claimed he had murdered Gibb to avenge his victims. See, that's something I don't understand. Whose victims is he trying to avenge? Gibb's victims or his own victims? Like, was that a sacrifice thing?
I don't
That's
know.
what threw me off about this.
Okay.
I was like, wait.
Maybe we need a little more research on that to see what
Yeah, because it
exactly.
doesn't specify. That doesn't
And
specify
yeah,
anything. So, yeah, I don't know. But he has been charged with first-degree murder with special circumstances for killing Gibb. Oh, okay. So you kill a murderer and you get special circumstances. Okay.
good to know.
Alabama prosecutors said that they will not seek a death sentence against him. On March 3rd, the Amador County Sheriff's Office released the result of Gibb's autopsy report showing that he had died from manual strangulation. So he he gets he kills numerous victims, which from his from the names of the victims, it doesn't look like he had any particular type that he would go for. But he's in prison for murder, for a number of years, and then his cellmate, who is a renowned Satanist, kills him, and doesn't get the death penalty either.
Because of special circumstances.
For special circumstances.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
mean, good.
Okay.
Yeah, good to know. What the hell?
I don't recommend doing that. For the record,
no,
we
don't
don't recommend that.
Let's
but interesting.
Not do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's the number of his victims. The ages are literally like the youngest was 17, and it looks like the oldest was maybe 29.
Okay.
So there's no particular age frame. It doesn't look like there's any type of like
pattern or
anything.
like
pattern, like blonde hair, blue eyes, or brown hair, blue eyes, or there's no, I know that like with a lot of notorious serial killers, they have a type or sometimes they don't, but with this guy, it doesn't seem like he has any particular type. So, but I would definitely want to do more research on him because that's interesting. So thank you, Cheyenne.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for pointing this one out because I had no idea about this guy.
Yeah, neither did I.
So, yeah, so we're gonna get rid of this guy with my little help of my little Becky.
Okay. And if I had heard about him, it wasn't enough for it to like stick to be like, oh yeah, that's who that is. So
yeah, so and a lot of a lot of the serial killers that we're gonna go over, a lot of them are famous. And the ones that we're doing today, we're just doing. There's a few there's one that I haven't heard of, which was that last one. Never heard of him. There's one that Jess has that I also have never heard of, but there's a weird coincidence with it. And then we have 3 that are very high profile. And which the one that we're ending with is
a high profile.
A very high profile. If you do not know who this guy is, and I'm going to keep you guessing the entire time on if you think you know who this guy is.
And just so you guys know, she likes to drop Easter eggs. So keep an eye out for those. Not saying she's going to drop one, but she's really good at dropping them.
I did. Yeah, I do.
So
we'll see.
So keep an eye out.
I'll do it, but keep an eye out, and
Yeah. If she could fit one in, she'll definitely do it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right.
You're up, madam.
All right. So I don't know anybody who doesn't know who this person is, but we're going to start off. Well, I'm starting off with Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, notorious serial killer.
You don't know who this guy is?
You're under a rock.
Under a rock.
Let us recommend some documentaries on Netflix for you.
Yeah,
just saying.
Seriously.
Okay, so Jeffrey Dahmer, he was born on May 21st in 1960. He is dead now. I will get into that more. He died November 28th, 1994 at the age of 34. So, Jeffrey Dahmer is also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster, and was an American serial killer and sex offender who committed the murder and dismemberment of 17 men and boys between between 1978 and 1991. Words are hard. Forgive me. Okay, and many of his later murders involved necrophilia, cannibalism, and the permanent preservation of body parts, typically all or part of the skeleton. Um, now
Sounds
this
fun.
one, now this one, when you talk about serial killers, I know Bre and I have talked about it, like this mental status, what, like what am I like? Do
So
you have a mental disability
there's
that's causing you to do this?
exactly.
Or is it in your nature? I mean, I think it's just fascinating because some of these people are diagnosed with, different things where others,
With
there's
yeah,
nothing.
mental illnesses, specifically
Right.
like sociopath. There's a
Yeah.
number of them. Like,
Yeah.
but
And
Jeffrey Dahmer, he's a whole different breed because he has all these diagnoses, which
hmm and he has a
I don't
list
remember.
that I'm
Yeah,
going
he's
to
got a
list
list.
here in a
He's
minute.
got a list of different diagnoses that
Yeah.
but yet during his trial, he was claimed to be clinically sane.
hmm
But yet you've got a rap sheet of like mental
Yeah.
issues that are obvious contributing factors to why he is why he does what he does. I
hmm
do remember reading about him because I remember like hearing about Jeffrey Dahmer when I was younger.
Right.
And when I really wanted to research into like different serial killers, like John Wayne Gacy,
hmm
Charles Manson,
Ted
Richard
Bundy.
Ramirez, like Ted Bundy, all of them,
Yeah.
like those are at least the top fives, or even Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper
Right.
is an unsolved one, but he is a notorious serial killer, and they had so many, and so it's just astounding that some of these guys or serial killers, like even what's her name?
Uh,
Oh my
I know
gosh,
who you're talking about. I can't think of her name.
Eileen Warnos.
Okay.
She's also a notorious serial killer, and but yet they never really talk about like the contributing factor to why these people do this, and that's
Yeah.
what's astounding to me. That's why
Mhm.
I am like, I know me and a few of my other friends, me and particularly my best friend Verna, me and her, like, we used to love like researching this shit
Mhm.
because it's just astounding. And for me particularly, I like knowing the psychological aspect of it, like what drove this person to get to that point,
Right.
because we're all human. We all have, human traits, obviously, but what leads you to want, like, I know a number of people who have like major anger issues. I know when I
Mhm.
get mad, I go from like 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds,
Yeah.
depending on the situation, but not enough to, like, you know what, I'm gonna take this knife and I'm gonna stab and
Right.
kill somebody, like,
Right.
or I'm gonna really think about strangling somebody and taking them out to the desert. Like, what leads to
And
that?
like what
And
necrophilia?
honestly, I feel like,
Like what?
yes, like of all things,
Cannibalism
necrophilia.
is
Like,
right there with it. Like what? So,
okay,
yeah.
I understand, like, if you're like stranded in the middle of fucking nowhere, there's no animals, like you're on a desert
Mm,
island and there's nothing to fucking eat. Okay, maybe last resort. Like,
Right.
okay, last resort, but no,
Mm,
there's a store right down the fucking street from you,
Yeah.
and but no, you're gonna go and you're gonna, like lure in a young gentleman, because a lot of his
His
particulars were
victims were
young.
young.
Oh yeah, young, and oh, let me just,
Right.
wing him in, and then, oh,
Yeah.
he doesn't want to stay. Okay, well, I'm gonna try and fucking kill him then,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna eat his body parts.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna come back to him.
Yeah. In another
He's one.
episode.
There's
But before we
Yeah.
finish on him, let me finish just reading some like what he was diagnosed with.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
Like,
thought you read it.
no, I
Mhm.
hadn't gone to that part. We just kind of went on a tangent there, Miss Bree. Anyway,
Okay.
it's okay.
I got excited. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so although he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder,
Hmm.
schizo, was it schizopal? Schizoopal? I probably pronouncing that wrong. Personality disorder and a psychotic disorder. He was found to be legally sane at his trial. So not only was he claiming to be sane, he was found legally sane with these diagnoses.
Oh,
So
schizotypal. schizotypal or something like that.
Yeah, schizotypal.
It's an
It's a
underlying
form of
condition of
right. It was a form of
schizophrenia. Yeah,
schizophrenia. Yeah.
schizophrenia.
He was convicted at the 15 of the 16 murders he had committed in Wisconsin and was sentenced to 15 times of life imprisonment on February 17th, 1992. Dahmer was later sentenced to a 16th term of life imprisonment for an additional homicide committed in Ohio in 1978. So he's a state jumper,
Mm-hmm.
as
Yeah,
we call
he's a
him.
state jumper.
And then on November 28th, 1994, Dahmer was beaten to death by Christopher Scarver, a fellow inmate at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin. So, I mean, wonder if he, Christopher got that special circumstance
I was
thing.
gonna ask the
Just
same
saying.
question.
I mean,
But
it
yeah,
doesn't
like
specify, but
again, he's
what baffles me is how can you, and I'm not saying like he should have been, you know,
he shouldn't have been let off. He should have had a
he,
fair trial. Like if any other person,
I
like
just, I don't see
like
how with all those diagnoses
how he
that
was
he was
clinically
clinically
insane.
insane
That doesn't make any
because,
sense to me.
but I don't know the law, and I know the law like differs from state to state, so I'm
He
definitely going to do a little bit more research on him before we cover him because I just
yeah.
been boggles me my mind
I
that
do know that part of his diagnosis is he does suffer from abandonment issues.
okay.
Um and they have a number of documentaries that are out there with Jeffrey Dahmer that I definitely want to rewatch because I've watched some of them, but it's been
Hmm.
so long.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a movie coming out where Evan Peters is going to play Jeffrey Dahmer, and
Yeah.
I'm actually excited about that because Evan Peters is amazing in American Horror Story. He plays
Yeah.
such a great versatile. I've seen him play completely psychotic
Hmm.
and insane to like the hero to you know what I mean like
Yeah.
just so I'm kind of excited to
I'm
see
excited
that.
about that, and
You know,
I
I'm
didn't know about
excited.
that until you told me last week. And
Yeah.
this is the second time we're recording this episode because my dumb ass forgot to unmute us. So
We
we were on
went
the
to
very
we went
last.
we
We're on
went
the
to
very
through a whole
last.
episode.
We were on the very last killer that Bre was talking about, and I was like, "Stop!" And I looked down and realized that we were recording, but there was no sound. So
Yep.
bear
Yep.
with us.
So
Some of this, we know, but we're still going and saying what we thought initially.
yeah. Oh yeah,
So
because
you're still
we
getting
can
that
keep
much
going and
because
going. Yeah,
we can go
because we
on
can
and
keep going and
on.
going.
Yeah.
We were at
So
like what almost an
we're
hour
at
20 on the
yeah
last
hour
episode.
20 on the last one. So we're trying to keep
Yeah.
them a little bit shorter for you guys. So
Yeah.
with that said, I'm not going to continue going on nonsense stuff, but just a little yeah
Just a little information there, but
yeah.
yeah, we're definitely gonna cover more of Jeffrey Dahmer in our part 2 series.
Mhm.
He's got a lot more into
Yeah.
him. He's a whole
Yeah.
he's a whole nother beast.
Yep.
Really, like I really like getting into the psychology of that one because that one is just like you're like how like so
Mhm.
before that continues because I could keep going on Jeffrey Dahmer alone. I'm gonna go on to my next one, and if
Okay.
you were paying attention,
Probably
I
wasn't.
did say an Easter egg. I did say an Easter egg when
I
I
missed it.
listed
But
talking about Jeffrey Dahmer and such.
okay.
I named this guy actually
Yeah, I
in.
missed it.
Did you?
I did. I totally
I
missed it.
said it. You
I
just talked about my
I
Easter
know.
eggs,
I'm
and
sorry.
I did it. So if you can guess who this next guy is, and it's kind of funny that this was not planned, and we kept these. We took two of our articles out that we want to cover
Yeah.
in the next episode. However, we kept this one in, and we're keeping it in the same order that we did when we did our first recording
Yeah.
of this episode because it's just so funny that the fact that when I laid these out and we talked about we didn't think about it and it just happened. So the fact that this guy is next and this guy is similar to Dahmer but not. And it's just amazing
Oh,
that we, that
okay.
we ended up doing these back to back because
Yeah,
of the cases
yeah,
in itself.
yeah.
And so,
I do
without
recall you
furthermore,
saying that name. So
yep,
now,
John
once you,
Wayne Gacy.
yeah.
John Wayne Gacy. This guy's a piece of work. This guy, oh my goodness. We could go on about him too, and we will
Mhm.
cover, but we're just gonna go over the basics of him. So John Wayne Gacy, if you don't know who he is, he was an American serial killer and sex offender who assaulted and murdered at least 33 young men and boys. Gacy regularly performed at children's hospitals and charitable events, and as Pogo the Clown and Patches the Clown, personas he had devised. He became known as the Killer Clown due to his public services as a clown prior to the discovery of his crimes. According to Gacy, he committed all of his murders inside his ranch house near Norridge, a village in Norwood Park Township, which is in the metropolitan Chicago, Illinois area. Typically, he would lure a victim to his home, dupe him into donning handcuffs on the pretext of demonstrating a magic trick. Okay, Pogo the Clown. And then he would rape, torture his captive before killing him by either asphyxiation or strangulation with a garrote. So that's another similarity that we have between two of our killers that we've already um, covered with Gibb. Gibb,
Mhm.
he liked the garrote and used the paracord, which is famous for like rock climbing, or I know they make paracord bracelets. It's the same type of material, it's just a more thicker kind, from
Mhm.
my understanding. Um, 26 victims were buried in the crawl space of his home, and 3 others were buried elsewhere on his property. 4 were discarded in the Des Plaines River, and Gacy was convicted of the sodomy of a teenage boy in Waterloo, Iowa. So he's a state jumper too. In 1968, and was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment, but served 18 months. If I remember correctly, they didn't have enough evidence against him, which is why he was released. Here's the kicker.
The
He
kicker.
murdered his first victim in 1972 and murdered twice more by the end of this 1975. By the end of 1975, so in a matter of a year span, he murdered. I want to say there was like at least 9 of those were in a year span. But after he was released, I know that there was a. I don't want to say specific numbers, but there was a number of murders when he was released. So they're like, oh, we don't have enough evidence against you, so we're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you go free. Oh, but then I'm gonna go and murder some people. Like that's exactly what happened. They released
Yeah.
him because of lack of evidence, and then he goes and kills people. So he's yeah. So then, um, he murdered at least 30 subsequent victims after his divorce from his second wife. So not not just one wife. No, he had 2 wives. In 1976. The investigation into the disappearance of Des Plaines teenager Robert Peist led to Gacy's arrest on December 21st, 1978. His conviction for 33 murders by individual then covered the most homicides in the United States legal history. Gacy was sentenced to death on March 30th, 1980, on death row at Menard Correctional Center. He spent much of his time painting, and he was executed by lethal injection at Stateville Correctional Center on May 10th, 1994. I was 5. I was 5 when he was murdered, or when he was. But like, what gets me about him and kind of makes my stomach turn a little bit more so about him is that he is the epitome of serial killers. Because not only was, oh yeah, I'm gonna lure these young guys in and I'm gonna kill them and bury them in this crawl space under in my
Mhm.
house. He was doing this in the house where he lived with his wife and his children.
Yeah.
Children. So that he makes my stomach turn because he was just the average guy, and he is somebody, if you look at the pictures of him, if you look at any type of recordings of him video wise, he is like the like
He's the
I
family
want
man.
to exactly like you would not
He's your
think
neighbor.
like Mr. Plainsville, what's up, John? Like
Right.
literally like neighbor of the year,
Yeah.
but behind closed doors, he's strangling people and raping them and not, just burying them under his
Yeah.
house where his children, his wife, like
Yeah.
it's
Um,
he's we're going to go
yeah.
more into him.
And
Definitely.
again, I'm going to mention this because this is like the perfect movie, in my opinion, that kind of covers this. Mr. Brooks with Kevin Costner. If you have not seen it, go and see it because he is the perfect family man. And
That
I mean, I don't want to give
that's
too much
literally John Wayne Gacy.
details. I don't want to give too many details, but it touches on a whole nother psychological level of Hereditary.
Yeah,
And if this is Hereditary or if it's just,
and I'm
so
hoping that y'all caught what we meant by the back-to-backs, considering Dahmer, who
they're
we just covered,
victims.
and Gacy, their victims are young boys, young
Yeah.
men, young
Yeah.
young men. And the fact that what throws me for the loop with John is like, again, I don't like killer clowns.
Yeah. I was like the clown thing, it's like, And I still need to
And
find out if that has anything to do with it because
yeah, Pennywise,
it's like
which
mm, even
I mean,
I don't
he
know.
fits the profile. He fits
Yeah.
the profile.
I mean, even if it was a touch of inspiration by it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
it's creepy. Clowns are creepy.
It's
Do not send a clown to me. I
if
will smack you.
And I do remember in one of his documentaries that I watched or something that I researched, I remember seeing that he had a construction company, and
Mhm.
that's how he got these young men, these
Oh yeah.
runaways, so to speak. He would get them in
Get
like,
them
"Hey,
work.
I need some help to do some more." Yeah, and so then he wouldn't have to pay them. He would keep the money for himself.
Mhm.
That's how he ended up luring them. Oh, come to my house to come get your check, and that's how he was
Yeah.
also luring them into his house when
And
his wife left him.
I can't imagine finding out that your husband or your father was doing
Mm,
this. Like
mm-mm. I don't think their names were ever publicly released.
and that's
I know
probably
the
a good
wife
thing.
was. Yeah, definitely. Oh
But
yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
like imagine it's like you did what? You did what? Where? Like under
If
my nose?
if I had a relative that came out to be a serial killer, I mean, I don't know. I would want my name to be linked to them.
You'd be like, you're not part of that family. No,
I don't.
sorry.
Who?
Yeah, yeah. All
my
right.
my
We'll do
I've
more
got
on
dibs
him.
on my youngest sister. I've got dibs on calling her being the serial killer in the family.
Okay. You heard it here first.
Just kidding,
Is
I
this
love
Emma?
you.
Is this Emma?
Yeah.
Oh, poor Emma. Okay. Let's
She
go
knows
ahead
I
and
love
move
her. She knows
on.
I'm messing with her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
so let's
let's
get rid
move
of John
on.
Wayne Gacy.
Okay, get rid of him with your
My
yeah.
Becky.
Yeah. All right. This next one I did not know about until there was a series on Hulu about him. And in fact, um, we know somebody in the gaming community who has their handle as
Oh,
this. So I don't know if you know who this is, but I'll give you like a couple seconds to guess. But like I said, I've never heard of him. And then I was told go watch this documentary on Hulu, which I'm still watching, and this one this one baffles me like none other with the amount of victims.
I remember this one now. And before
And
us doing our first recording, I had never heard of this guy. I
yeah,
only saw the name because I and I know Jess is gonna make fun of me again. I Wikipedia'd. Actually, I Googled top 10 infamous
yeah.
serial killers, and he was on that list along with
Mhm.
Richard Ramirez, John Wayne Gacy,
Yeah.
Dahmer, Eileen Wuornos. He was in that list. I'm like, who is this guy? So
Yeah.
when I actually researched through him, and actually this one wasn't through Wikipedia, it was through Time.
Time.
Through
Okay, so
Time. So
we have an accurate
he,
article here.
yeah. Anyway, so when I only saw the blue name, and I thought it was the funniest fucking thing in the world, and I was like, oh, we got to
Yeah.
do this one. But I had never heard about it until just read it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go ahead, Jess,
And
take it away.
this, and before I even start this, it's just he was in a position of trust
Mm-hmm.
that you put trust in this particular person in your life. You literally put your life in their hands and
Literally.
you trust their, recommendations, everything. So I'm just going to get started.
And
So
it's kind of funny that we do back to back with John Wayne Gacy, because we did literally
the
a domino
family man.
effect unintentionally,
Mm-hmm.
because he was a family
Yeah.
man. And so it's funny that we had a comparison between these three articles that we
Mm-hmm.
just covered, with Dahmer,
Right.
Gacy, and now this one.
Yeah.
All of them have a domino effect right behind them, and that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
funny that they laid out that way, and it was
Yeah.
so
That
unintentional,
was unintentional
so unintentional.
because we did I took out one for another episode and Bre took one out, and
Hmm.
it's interesting.
Oh
So
yeah.
good job on that part. No. So this is Harold Shipman. Um, you may know him or have heard of him as Dr. Death. He was born on January 14th, 1946. Um, like I said, Harold Shipman, also known as Dr. Death, is believed to have killed at least 218 patients, although the total is quite likely closer to 250. Dr. Well, now you know. He was a doctor, Dr. Shipman. He was a doctor that practiced in London between 1972 and 1998. Worked in two different offices, killing all the while through it. So what was it, 2072? So 26 years he did this.
Yep.
Um, he wasn't caught until a red flag was raised by several people, including an undertaker who was surprised by the sheer number of cremation certificates that Shipman was a part of, along with the fact that most of his cases were elderly women found to have died in bed, not at night, but rather during the day. Police mishandled the investigation, and Shipman kept killing until he got greedy and tried to concoct a will for a victim that named him the beneficiary, which led to the victim's daughter to become suspicious. And he was finally convicted in 2000 and committed suicide while in prison in 2004. So,
What gets me the most with that one is the fact that it took all of those victims
mhm,
to finally realize, because he fucked up a death certificate
right,
and named himself as a beneficiary, and
in a will.
that's the red
Yeah,
flag. That's the red flag,
because,
not the 200 some odd victims beforehand.
right.
No, that one.
And
That
what
one.
and what baffles me a lot with this one is, at least 218 patients over a 26-year period, but even 10 patients over a 26-year period, you would think would raise a flag, with some of
Well,
them are having stuff in common. But I mean, if somebody was really looking, I guess. Well, even let's just say
yeah.
100. Let's say 100 over a 26-year period. If there were factors, I mean, somebody, I guess, would have to really be looking into him to find these coincidences or not. But,
Yeah.
um,
He's literally like the angel of death, if you think about it. Like,
yeah,
oh, let me bring my sick relative to you. Oh, all of a
right.
sudden they're dead. Nobody's gonna raise flags about that.
Yeah. And
Like,
honestly,
it took almost the 250 victims and a
yeah.
fucked up death certificate, and
Hmm.
named beneficiary to his victims
And
shit, to finally realize, oh, we need to look into this guy. Like,
the fact, and I'm not meaning to interrupt you. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
no, no, no,
Um,
I'm good.
the fact that the police mishandled the investigation, that he was, I understand that happens. It's not excusable by any means. But I want to find out, like, the time period after they mishandled the um, investigation and all that to when he was actually caught.
Oh yeah.
Like, when he did that. Because I would think after that incident is brought to your knowledge, you would be, like, having, like, your eye on him,
Con-
like a
Continue
magnifying
it. Like
glass.
I would
And, like,
hell yeah, that many victims?
yeah. And the fact that I'm really wanting to do some more research on him just to see how long between the
Yeah.
mishandling investigation and that. But the fact that they still let him practice, I mean, you would think it
Gave
would be in the
him
newspapers.
free
Why would
reign,
you
like here
want
you
to
go.
go?
Let's
Why would
let's
you
hand
want?
you more fucking victims. Here you go.
You would
Like
think it would make the news. So why would you want to put your mother's or your aunt's or your grandmother's life in this man's hands, even if he couldn't be proven that he did this? But on the off chance that he was actually doing this? Like, what?
I
So,
would have watched him like a hawk. I would have watched him like a hawk because he was already
yeah,
at almost 200, closer to 250 victims
at
over
least
26
280,
years.
more likely 250.
Yeah, like
And the sheer fact that he got cocky, continued to do
mm-hmm.
this, and then
No remorse. None.
it just makes you wonder what their frame of mind is.
Yep. I definitely
So,
want to learn more into him. I want to learn more
I want,
into him because
yeah,
I don't prior to me researching the stuff for this
mm-hmm,
episode, I had never heard of him.
yeah,
Along with the I-5 Strangler, I had never heard of him, and I'm like, and I just giggled. Like I giggled when I saw Dr. Death because we have a friend, who helps us with tech stuff occasionally, and who is just he lives up to that name in the gaming world because
yeah,
of how sneaky he is. And the fact that we read this article, I was like giggling the whole time because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wonder, like I wanted to message him and ask him, like, is that why you chose that name?
you
Like I really
should
want
and
to know, is
find
that why you
out.
chose that name? Because I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna
Um,
find out if he really chose his name because of that, and if so, like his TikToks and such are
yeah,
hilarious.
they
He
are.
is if I saw a kill cam of him killing me, I would laugh my ass off because he
The
does
way
it
he
right in
does it,
front of their faces,
yeah, under
and
their
that's
nose,
exactly like this
literally under their
doctor,
nose.
literally
Um,
right in front of everybody, like
Go follow him on Twitch. Follow him on
mm-hmm.
TikTok. Dr.
His
Death,
name's
one word.
Dr. Death.
Um,
Just look him up. You can't miss him.
no.
His videos are uncanny. They're hilarious because
Search and destroy in Call
they're
of Duty.
yep. He
It's
is
like, what?
a ninja.
Yeah.
He is a ninja in Call of Duty, and his name fits the the way that he does it just
Hmm.
fits this whole article
Yeah.
in general
Yeah.
because this doctor Shipman was literally right under everybody's noses, like killing all these women, elderly people, and he does the same thing in Call of Duty. He does it right in front of them, like he literally is right in front of them, and then
Yeah.
plants the bomb. If anybody's familiar with Search and Destroy in Call of Duty, you have to plant a bomb, and then the other team has to come and defuse it, and he does it, and it's right in front of their face, and then all of a sudden they're like, what?
Yeah. They're like,
Where was
what?
he? What?
Yeah.
And he's like right there, and you're just, I'm like, I laugh the whole time I watch his videos. I'm laughing my ass off. And it's the same thing when I saw Dr. Death. I was like, I wonder. So I'm gonna ask him, and I'll get back to you guys. Or if he or him or his wife happen to see this, like, please comment below if that is actually why his name is Dr. Death, or if that's just something he came up with. Because if that's something he just came up with, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, and it's so coincidental to this episode.
Yeah.
So I gotta know. I gotta know. So, um,
Um, let's
any
see.
more on Doctor Death?
That's it. I think
All
that's it.
right.
Yeah. You want to do
Well,
one more, or do we want to save that one for the next one?
I think we should do this last one.
Okay.
We just won't do a lot of detail on it.
Okay.
This one will be more fan base detailed. I'll read what I have. But if you were paying attention this entire episode, I actually said this person's name a good maybe 3 times max. If not, I know for sure I did it twice because Jess said earlier I like to leave little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So, if you had guessed Richard Ramirez, you are correct. This guy is the epitome of psychotic. And he is honestly one of my all-time favorite serial killers to read about, to learn about, and it just so happens that my wife's family was actually in contact with him. And so I will read read the article and then we'll discuss those little facts. But we're not going to go into full detail with him until the next episode.
How
which
mad
means
would you
have to come
be
back.
if I told you I didn't unmute another time? We're unmuted. We're fine. I was just wondering how mad you would be.
Oh, that's rude. That's rude. I hope you keep that in the actual.
Oh, I plan
main
to.
recording.
I plan to. I don't plan
good.
to edit any of
good.
this. So
That's fine. I'm fine with that. And just me hacking up my lungs, no big deal. Okay, so Ricardo Richard Leve Munoz Ramirez, dubbed the Valley Intruder, as his attacks were first clustered in San Gabriel Valley. And like I said, if you don't know who this guy is and you live in California, you cannot call yourself a Californian at all.
I
And
didn't
if
know
you
who
only
this
know of
was,
him,
and I don't live in California, so I'm safe. I think.
yeah, you're safe.
I'm
You're
safe.
fine, but you still live under a rock. And if you've seen the American Horror Story series, and you only know about him because of that series, you live under a rock. But he's also the walk-in killer, and most infamously, the Night Stalker. If you do not know him as the Night Stalker, yeah, I'm looking at you, Jess. You living under a rock because this guy
I
was
knew
a
that
piece of
I've
work.
heard of the Night Stalker, but that's all I've heard of. I didn't know details, but I've heard the name, the Night Stalker.
But okay, then you slide by. Like, you can slide by. Like, as long as you recognize, like, if you hear the Night Stalker and you're like, oh, okay, that's that famous serial killer, okay, you can get by with that. But if you don't know that at all, we can't be friends. Just kidding. Okay, so the Night Stalker was an American serial killer, serial rapist, kidnapper, child molester, and burglar whose crime spree took place in California between June. This is the kicker. Between June 1984 and August 1985. He was convicted and sentenced to death the year I was born. Kudos if you know what year that was. 1989.
1969.
No. I'm not that old. Ramirez's childhood is considered an influence on his crimes. Abused by his father, Ramirez began developing a gruesome, macabre interest in his early and mid-teens from his older cousin, Miguel, whose name is Miguel Mike Ramirez, who allegedly also taught him some of the military skills that he would go on to use during his year-long killing spree. Ramirez also cultivated a strong interest in Satanism and the occult. By the time he had left his home in Texas and moved to California at the age of 22, he had begun frequently using cocaine. Ramirez would often commit burglaries to support his drug addiction. Many of these were later frequently accompanied by murders, attempted murders, rapes, and assaults. So what we're mainly talking about in this article is the crimes that he was busted for in this year span were just the murders or attacks alone. That's not including all the other crimes that he's committed, which, included breaking and entering, and that escalated to rape and murder. And he's a crazy one. He is a crazy one. But Ramirez's highly publicized home invasion and murder spree terrorized the residents of the greater Los Angeles area and later the San Francisco Bay Area. So he wasn't a state jumper. The only time he jumped states was when he was moving from Texas to California. However, he is a county jumper because he started in the Los Angeles area and then went up north and had the cops looking in both areas. Which was over over the course of 14 months. However, his first known murder occurred as early as April 1984. This crime was not connected to Ramirez, nor was it known to be his doing until 2009. Ramirez used a wide variety of weapons and different murder methods, including handguns, various types of knives, a machete, a tire iron, and a claw hammer. He was known to attack by punching, pistol whipping, and strangling many of his victims, both manually with his hands and, in one instance, a ligature. Stomped at least one of his victims to death in her sleep, and tortured another victim by shocking her with a live electrical cord. Ramirez also enjoyed frequently degrading and humiliating his victims, especially those who survived his attacks or whom he explicitly decided not to kill, by forcing them to profess that they loved Satan or telling them to swear on Satan. If there were no more valuables left in their homes, he had broken into and burglarized. In 1989, Ramirez was convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. The judge who upheld Ramirez's 19th death sentences remarked that his deeds exhibited cruelty, callousness, and viciousness. And viciousness beyond any human understanding. Ramirez never expressed any remorse for his crimes, and he died June 9th in 2013 of complications from B-cell lymphoma while awaiting execution on California's death row. So, yeah, he. If you have not seen the documentary on Richard Ramirez, go check
Yeah.
that out. It's on Netflix. Um, he is a he is a piece of work. He is the epitome of pure fucking evil. And that surpasses Charles Manson, because Charles Manson was nuts also, but he had shown zero remorse. And what made this case even more interesting is the fact that when I got with my wife, um, we found out. Well, I found out that her grandma actually wrote Richard Ramirez multiple letters and would actually talk to him on the phone. Now, of course, when you hear these things, you're like, okay, that's some made up bullshit. Like, okay,
Well,
no,
it makes you think like they're crazy. Okay, nobody
oh
I
yeah,
know
like
would do that, but
yeah,
right.
but it wasn't until like I believed it because my wife's not a liar, and my mother-in-law confirmed it, and she even told me the stories too, and I was just like, seriously, like what? And
Yeah.
we actually went in to her grandma's house, and we like were looking through some stuff, and we were looking for the letters, and we couldn't find the letters, but they do exist.
Mhm.
My wife has seen them herself,
Yeah.
and so has my mother-in-law. And when the court cases were going on and he was being convicted, her grandma would actually go and tag along family members to the court cases. And so when we were watching the documentary, like we were looking for the actual in the live footage of the court case, we were looking for her grandma. And at
Yeah.
one point, I'm pretty sure that we saw her. I'm almost positive. But then they did a cameo of like cards that his like super fans
Mhm.
sent, and we paused on one card in particular because she has a card above her desk, and that writing is uncanny to her grandma's.
Hmm.
Uncanny. It is in the documentary, and I'm just like, what? What?
Yeah.
Like she was obsessed with Richard Ramirez, and he actually called her, and he knew her by name. He would talk to her on the phone. Her grandma would try to get her mom to talk on the phone with him, and she'd be like, no, I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm good. And at one point, Richard Ramirez actually sent her grandma a key of some sort and said, "Here, can you send this to so and so to another person?" Her grandma's like, "No, I'm not doing it. Nope, not
Well,
happening."
thank
Like, and it's
God.
just like, right? I'm like,
Like
who
being a
knows what
super
that
fan,
was? Yeah,
like
like he even did if you watch the documentaries and if you research Richard Ramirez, he actually like would draw stuff, and he has drawn pictures. Like, I'm talking Ninja Turtles. Like, he drew a Ninja Turtle picture for a family member in my wife's family,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Like, he would
That's
send
insane.
stuff to so he had their home address. Like, and I'm like, we're talking about this guy who like
Yeah.
did all these crimes, like, and yeah, that's a real thing. That is a real thing, and I was like taken aback. But my mother-in-law is actually she's gonna try and remember some more stories. So when we talk about him in our part
Mm-hmm.
2 series, there's gonna be more stories of that, because that I find that fascinating, but at the same time that's so scary. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, like, I'm so glad you guys are still alive,
Yeah.
because he's crazy. He could have had his super fans got like Ted Bundy's super fans did like some crazy ass shit that I heard.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm watching
Like, so I'm talking some crazy shit, so
yeah.
I can't imagine.
That's what I'm currently
But
watching
yeah,
is
so
Ted Bundy. So I just
that's our last article. But yeah,
that'll be it.
that's that'd be it. But I thought that was crazy. I do have a list of the victims and who survived. There's
Mm-hmm.
quite a few who survived, but oh, they'll never be normal again.
No.
We watched the documentary on it, and there was one in particular who she was like, I can't even live alone anymore. It
Yeah.
doesn't even matter how
Well,
many times I check the door, I check anything, and it's like,
just what it does to your psyche.
oh
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
Yeah. But as we said, we're gonna make this a series because we're both
Yep.
fascinated in it. Um, there will eventually be a website for our Ladies Night Trash Talk, and I'm gonna make a section specifically for these individuals that we cover. They'll either have an article or a link to articles and pictures and stuff because
Yep.
just the fascination there is right now in today's society with it.
Yeah, because
So,
let's be real, these individual serial killers. I mean, Richard Ramirez, John Wayne Gacy, Eileen Warnos, all of them, they can literally have like their own episode, and we can go into
mhm,
detail about
absolutely.
them in one particular episode. And I know a lot of people are like fascinated by certain serial killers, or like, and I find them intriguing. Doesn't make me psychotic.
No, but
I just like knowing the
it's
psychology behind it and what
oh,
drives that person to
absolutely.
be that, because I mean, like I said before, I get mad, I get angry, but not
Yeah.
enough to go out and like,
Yeah.
let me just go,
Yeah.
like, let me go kill somebody because I want shit. Like, no, or
Yeah.
let me go break into somebody's house so I can, because I'm that broke. Like,
Right.
like, yeah. So, but
It's very
Becky's gonna throw the
interesting.
last one.
Okay. Um,
Oh, I almost threw Ducky.
don't throw ducky. Um, but yeah, we're gonna cover a lot more, and
Hmm.
we are working on a Patreon, and we haven't really decided what we're gonna do with that. For those of you that don't know what a Patreon is, it's a it's another service like YouTube or whatnot, but there is like a subscription fee, like a monthly fee that you could subscribe to our channel on there, and we're not really sure. There are going to be some things on there that we are not going to put on YouTube just for the fact of copyright. Um,
We have four more free reign on
more,
Patreon than we
right,
do on
right.
YouTube or
YouTube's very
Twitch or
strict with
anything.
that. So we thought these are things we want to cover, so we'll just do it there. And if, YouTube rejects it for copyright, it'll be on there. Have early access like a month prior to episode release or something. Like I said, we're still in the mid discussions of it. We haven't really decided yet, but
It's not
there's
a
gonna
for
be
sure thing, it's a possibility.
yeah, there's just gonna be some things we're gonna be adding to this.
Yeah.
This is part one of Lord knows how many parts there are gonna
Yeah.
be because I have an encyclopedia of serial killers.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of them that are not well known. And we want to cover
Sorry.
the well known ones, but I think it'd be really interesting to cover some of the ones that aren't so well known.
Yeah.
Um,
We're
and
also gonna have an unsolved mystery one.
yeah, where we talk about
So,
unsolved cases, and we
mhm,
have, we're still working on that. We are compiling a list. If you are
mhm,
in the East Night Trash Talk Discord, there is a thread there for suggested um, serial killers or whatnot that you would like us to
mm,
cover. So make sure you join the Discord, agree to the rules by reacting with the emote at the bottom, and then they'll gain you access to the Discord, and then you can put whatever ones you recommend. Um,
mhm. Or if you don't have Discord, you can leave it in the
yeah.
comments
Yep.
below, and we
That
do
too.
check those.
Yep.
We do like them. We do love feedback, so
Yeah.
don't be afraid to message us.
Yeah.
Or if you find a fact that we didn't know, like, let us know. Or if we say a fact wrong, let us
Mhm.
know. Like, we're open to
Yeah.
criticism as long as it's not in any type of form of bullying.
Right.
But we
And
take suggestions.
right now they are being all comments are being held for approval, just because we want to keep this channel positive, I guess, and not have those nasty comments that some people feel the need to, put on other people's channels to make them feel good about themselves. That's another episode we'll talk about
Yeah.
eventually. But we do go through the comments, and as long as there's no bullying or anything like that, they are approved and will show up at the bottom of the video. So
Yep.
yeah, so that was
And if you
this
haven't
week's
already,
episode.
please subscribe.
Yes, subscribe,
Help us get out
push,
there and share. Tell
share.
everybody
We
about it.
appreciate it. We so
We
appreciate all
do.
your support, and
We do.
um
It does mean a lot to us.
we do a lot. We do this for you, but you know it helps us out a little bit more as well,
Mhm.
to make
I actually
us want
I
to
actually
continue
got a
to do
thank you.
this. Did you?
Yeah, I got somebody Snapchatted me who I played with in another gaming group, and
Hmm.
she messaged me. Her name's Destiny. She messaged me and said, "Thank you. You guys did fantastic. Your
Was this
episode helped, and so on and so forth."
the mental, how
Yeah,
we deal
the
with mental?
mental last
Okay.
episode, yeah.
Okay.
So we
That's
so we
awesome.
appreciate and love things like that
Yeah.
because that means we're accomplishing what our goal is. We don't
Yeah.
need a million followers. We don't need a million likes.
No.
We just want to know that we're helping people and that we're reaching
Yeah.
people and we're talking about things that are interesting to people.
Right.
And that's our main goal. That's what we
Yeah.
want.
And if there's a topic that we haven't covered yet, or, that's not related to serial killers or whatnot, leave it in the comments below. Are we have a compilation of a list long
Oh yeah,
that we go through, and there's unless it's totally bizarre and not appropriate, we'll cover it.
yeah.
And I mean, if it is bizarre, we'll probably cover it too. But I mean, but
We are an 18 plus channel, so
yes. So just let us know. We hope you're enjoying these. We enjoy making them. These are
they are fun.
conversations that we have on a daily basis, and it's
Literally, while
nice.
we're playing video games, we
It's
literally have these same conversations.
Yeah,
Like,
it's nice to have a place to come and put it somewhere so you guys can hear our conversations. And if we bring at least one of you happiness or joy when you're in like a down beaten place or whatnot, it makes it all worthwhile.
definitely.
So, so
All right.
good things to
Well, we
come.
appreciate you guys being here.
Yes, thank you so much. Again, like Bree said, subscribe, click the little bell notification. We upload every Friday. Um, I believe
6 p.m.
that
Pacific Standard Time.
9 Eastern, 7 Mountain for me. Um, so yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us again, and we will see you guys next week.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, bye.